Be ready for BYU Game Day. Download the KSL News Radio app to stream BYU games, plus breaking news during the week. That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Matt, I've been getting some text rolling in from people. They said, one person just texted me. It's a big BYU supporter. He goes, Mitch, you're exactly right, brother. Cougar Nation would absolutely erupt if they no-showed in that bowl game. So that one Cougar fan disagrees, Matt, with your take that they would be content with just a no-show performance.
I don't know how you could have that opinion in today's day and age of college football. These games mean nothing.
They mean a ton. Matt, this game means a ton because it validates your season. No one has believed in BYU this year. No one. No one thinks BYU. They all think they're a fraud. Even on Selection Sunday yesterday, Reese Davis was like, he made a reference to BYU being ranked 6th, and he said, that was a great example of when they finally lost, the committee rightfully, dropped them. And I'm paraphrasing, but no one has believed in BYU. And everyone is, even Joel Klatt, when Big Noon Kickoff was in Provo, and he's in front of all the BYU fans and BYU students, and when asked about who's the biggest threat to win the title in the Big 12, he talked about Colorado. He didn't even mention BYU. No one has talked about BYU. And I just think I love that this matchup gives BYU that chance to say, you know what? Okay, maybe we're not ASU. ASU won the title. They're in the playoff. But we're next in line, and BYU's not going anywhere, and they got a lot of returning personnel next year. It can really give you some national energy going into the offseason because Colorado has so many eyeballs, and I think people will take BYU a little bit serious. But if you have a no-show like you did in the first half against ASU, Cougar fans are going to go nuts, especially on the heels of an extension. Because for Kalani Sitake gets that long-term extension, under no circumstances do they want to see a no-show performance. So I think Cougar fans are expecting, you got to play well because this season needs to end on a high note.
It could help, but it's not because what you just touched on, the media in sports has a way of twisting things to fit a narrative. And if BYU wins, Mitch, it's not going to be about BYU. Oh, BYU, they're a lot. But no, it's going to be, Shadur and Travis, they were focused on the NFL. Prime, he was hitting the transfer portal. You know how it's going to be. There's going to be no respect given to BYU for beating Colorado. And so that's one of the reasons I just don't care. And it's also a frustration I have with the sport is that you can't overcome, seemingly, the narratives that are put on you at the start of the season. And the narrative for BYU at the start of the season was they're not one of the best teams in the Big 12. The Big 12 Conference as a whole, they lost Texas, they lost Oklahoma. They're a middle-rate, glorified Group of 5 team, and that's how they were treated for most of the season. And beating Colorado is not going to do anything for that. It's not. So 11 wins, 10 wins, a meaningful Alamo game to me, it doesn't really, at the end of the day, change the perception you're looking for. The only thing that's going to change that perception is winning the Big 12 championship, winning the playoff. And that's why it's this losing that game to Kansas is going to be painful for a long, long, long time because that was the chance to change the narrative. That was the chance to validate everything they've been working for. Instead, now you're playing in the Alamo Bowl. All the eyes are going to be on Prime. Win or loss, it's not going to freaking matter. And so, in my opinion, it doesn't matter either. So 10 or 11, I don't give a rip.
But I think for BYU fans, it will matter. And I think Cougar Nation, they want to have this team show well. And I think they would be really disappointed if they had a no-show in this game. And, Colorado's explosive, and they have the talent and the star power to, put it on BYU. But I think BYU's defense should show up in this game. And I'm curious to see, first-team All-Big 12 performer Tyler Batty. How does he perform in this one? Because Colorado's offensive line, they give up sacks still. They're improved from last year, but they still give up a lot of sacks. And this could be a game for Tyler Batty to showcase that, get a big stat line night where maybe gets 2 or 3 sacks ideally. A game like Chase Roberts, man, he could have the chance if he's truly wanting to go to the NFL. What better game to go up against Travis Hunter and put out film and make a statement that you are an NFL receiver and you should be a draft pick. I think there's a lot on the line. I think for BYU to just kind of validate what you've been this season, and even if the nation doesn't want to buy in, so what? do it for Cougar Nation and this program and just in the building to give you that just kind of momentum heading into winter conditioning, because we're really not far off from things. I mean, winter conditioning will begin in about a month. Spring football is going to begin in a little under 3 months. So, I mean, things will get going for 2025 shortly after this bowl game, and that just gives you a lot of, momentum heading into winter conditioning and spring ball. And that's where, to me, I want to see BYU capitalize on this opportunity. And I also think, too, that this is probably going to be one of the most watched BYU football games probably in the 21st century. And a lot of that's due, again, to Colorado and the audience that Coach Prime and his team brings. I mean, they are a TV ratings juggernaut. But so BYU, I wanted to see them capitalize. To just completely no-show would be hard to swallow. And I think that's where capitalize on the moment, take advantage of this, and show that BYU football is a really good team. And if BYU plays 60 minutes and they still lose, okay, so be it. They play well and still come up short. It is what it is. Colorado had their night. But I just want to see BYU play well. And I think they will. But what I saw in the last couple weeks of the season left a lot to be desired, where I'm feeling like, man, I just really want this team to come out strong against the Buffs.
I think the other thing that sort of hurts my care factor about winning or losing this game is just everything that happens in college football in the month of December. The transfer portal is going bananas. Earlier today, Crew Wakely, you put an article up on KSL Sports. A starting safety is hitting the transfer portal. So there's going to be a lot of movement in that regard, and it's not as linear as it used to be, where you would say, we got to get that bowl game. We want those extra practices. We're developing our younger guys, and we're getting ready for the next season. Oh, and by the way, this bowl game does have some significance into how you're viewed into the next season. I don't think it does anymore. That's one of the reasons I don't care, is even if you go 11-2, there's no world in which BYU is a top 25 team next year, and then you're at the bottom of the hill trying to climb it up again like most teams in the Big 12. So the sport is so twisted in that regard that there's in our minds, and I think you make a good point, BYU fans do care and they want to show well, and 11-win season is great for the BYU fans, but in the grand scheme of things, that's what I'm coming from. That's what I'm looking at. In the grand scheme of things, it's not going to matter, because you're going to have to rebuild your roster. The teams that crush it in the portal are going to get that lucrative, stupid preseason ranking, and then it's just the same thing. And like I was saying a moment ago, the only thing that's going to change that is Big 12 championships, success in the playoff. So I want them to play well, and I really do hope that Prime is right that some Colorado players are going to play. I'll believe it when I see it. He's saying all the right things. But if you do have Shadur and Travis and others that have NFL opportunities for Colorado, that would go a long way in making this a meaningful game. But at the end of the day, these bowl games, they hold little to no significance in the grand scheme of things.
So if Kalani got completely blown out and just no-showed, just move on, like you just chalk it up as just an L?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I would say hangover from the Big 12 championship game, in which a meaningful tiebreaker that should have helped you wasn't in place, and you had this lame reason that kept you out of the Big 12 championship game. That would have had a lot more of an impact, and I just think it's very easy to be distracted in these bowl games right now, where you're juggling roster management and recruiting and are guys going to the league. Like, it's not going to be all eyes. This game matters. They'll say all the right things, but we all know it's not true that all focus is on winning this bowl game, and it has significance, because it doesn't. That's what we've been told for 8 weeks. Every single Tuesday night, we're glued to the CFP rankings. That's what it's all about. It's not about getting an 11th win, and no one's going to give a rip if it's 10 or 11.
Coach Prime on the conversation about everyone on his team playing. This was Coach Prime on Sunday after the Alamo Bowl announcement.
We have a plethora of seniors that are pro-bound, and guess what? Every last one of them are going to play. We don't tap out. We don't sit out. It's a blessing to play this wonderful game. Our kids are going to play. We got a kid that's probably going to pick up, not probably, what I'm talking about, matter of factly going to pick up the Heisman Trophy this week, and he's going to play. We got another quarterback who picked up an award last weekend, and he's going to play. We have receivers that I know are going pro, and guess what? They're going to play. So we cannot wait to put on our best suit and our best uniform, because we're the home team, and we're going to play, and we're going to come there to have a good time.
There you go. There's Coach Prime.
Hey, I love that, by the way. I hope it happens. I think that is refreshing because that type of stuff would go towards reframing the narrative about these bowl games, that they don't matter. Because that's we've been told, we'll opt out. Anyone that's got a chance don't want to get hurt, don't care, blah, 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 blah. If Prime and his team follows through on this, that's great for establishing a little more care factor in these bowl games.
801-575-8255. How do you feel about BYU's bowl matchup against Big 12 foe Colorado? Weigh in. 801-575-8255. We're getting a bunch of texts. Want to hear your phone calls as well. Cougar Nation sponsored by Central Bank. Voted best bank and mortgage in Utah Valley. Visit them online at cbutah.com. Taking the break. We'll take your phone calls and texts next here on